join us a bit later, but I do like to start on time, especially given we're starting early before the working day, so to see. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining us today. I think, you know, when we were looking at planning events, and obviously this is, you know, we were just discussing it earlier on with Martin does a lot of these, is that, you know, we've got a whole new world with the whole virtual world that's happened. And suddenly it opens up a lot more opportunities for less commuting and ability to get people together earlier. And when we were planning events and topics, one of the things that we felt was really important to look at was when we look at the whole economy, the economy of the UK has obviously had a massive shock to it with the pandemic, but we can all recognise that we're starting to come out of the pandemic. Fingers crossed we don't get a third wave, but everything at the moment seems to be going in the right directions. Vaccinations up, in terms of deaths down, infections down, and the roadmap seems to be following, and we seem to be adjusting well to that. That really, I think, gives certainly us as a business confidence. We are very much looking at expanding, but businesses out there are all in lots of different spaces. We know business owners who are just starting up businesses. We know businesses that are restarting, obviously, given the COVID problems that restarting. We've got businesses that want to motor on and really build their business, and there's some business owners who've had enough and actually want to get out. Now, today, what we're going to talk a little bit about, and we've got some expert speakers, is about how some ideas of how people in any of those areas might want to follow up with a bit more information to help with their planning. With that in mind, you know, in terms of presenters today, so I'm doing an introduction. So I'm Mike Harper, Managing Director of Bellamy Wealth Management. I'm going to introduce Jeannie Whelan, who's a solicitor at Awdry, Bayliss and Douglas. And they're a local firm of solicitors based in, our nearest office is Royal Wootton Bassett, which is obviously where our office is. And we've worked with them for probably 3 or 4 years. We've done several, when we were doing live events, we've done several live events together. So it's a good working relationship. And we're very pleased that Jeannie's made the time today to join us. Our final speaker is Martin Brown, who's CEO of Elephant's Child. And Elephant's Child is a business that's linked in with St James's Place for the last 3 or 4 years. And Martin, together with some of the team in St James's Place, created the Entrepreneurs Club, which we'll talk a bit about later on. But Martin is CEO of that business and works effectively with business owners and entrepreneurs. I'll let him explain a little bit more of that in the minutes coming up. In terms of the agenda for today, so obviously the introduction just from myself, then Jeannie's going to cover off protecting your business, looking at business wills, discretionary will trust, lasting powers of attorney. So if you like, the basics, but very important basics. And it's only when something goes wrong that you realise how important those basics were. So Jeannie's going to talk us through that. Then we hand over to Martin. Martin's going to talk about his view, and Martin talks to hundreds of business owners on a daily basis, and sort of we're going to get his view on the business market post-pandemic, looking at some specific examples of business funding, preparation, and business exit. So some key examples of businesses and how he's been able to help them. Then we'll have summary and close. I'm anticipating probably the presentation today will be about half an hour. Some time for questions, and you know, we'll certainly be gone well in time for 9 o'clock. I think in terms of any questions, if anyone has any questions as we go, that's fine to ask. Martin and Jeannie, I know, are happy to do that. But as well, we will open it up to questions right at the end. So first of all, a little bit about Bellamy Wealth Management. So we are a senior partner of St James's Place. So St James's Place, FTSE 100 company, 123 billion of funds under management. And for us, it's a great organisation to partner with from the perspective of very big organisation, able to help us on all the things that are really important, certainly in terms of things like investment management, and a good place to go in terms of helping us make sure that we are able to focus on our clients. And that's very much what we are. We are a small business that looks after our clients. And as you can see, our strapline is Bellamy Wealth Management, advice as unique as you. We do feel that every client is individual. We do, when we can, face-to-face. We've also got used to a lot of virtual meetings over the last 12 months. But we very much try and understand our clients very much in the first place, and that's really important. We are a chartered financial planning practice, and what that means is that we have a proportion of our advisors who are highest qualified and chartered, and there's other criteria that we have to do as a business to get that kite mark. So something we're very proud of and something you have to maintain. So we continue to strive for the highest quality in the industry. Final point that we've got there is about specialising goals-based financial planning. What we find is that it's very easy to just look and do the basics of one bit at a time. But one of the things that we like to embrace, and this is why we really like working with business owners, is we want to embrace about what the direction of travel is. And quite often our clients don't start off with goals in mind. We help them create the goals. By helping them create those goals, what we help them do is achieve it. And that is a long-term based approach. We certainly don't look at having clients doing one-off cases. We very much like to work with clients over a long time, a decade, 20 years. The business itself is coming up to 10 years old this year, so we'll have an anniversary in May. And John Bellamy obviously founded the practice 10 years ago. We will be looking to have a bit of a celebration on that. But it just reflects on the fact that we see ourselves being here for another 10, 20, 30 years to look after our clients. And it's not a short-term relationship. But at this point, I'm going to hand over to Jeannie. Now, I'm not sure if Jeannie's whether her camera stuff's working, but Jeannie, are you able to take over from here?
Hi, Mike. Yeah, thank you. And I'll just apologise. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get it to work today. The IT department are looking into it as we speak. But I will run through the slides with you anyway. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Jeannie Whelan, the solicitor based in the Royal Bassett office. And I also have Heather Winnell, my head of department, head of private client, here with me, who works between the devisers and the Royal Bassett office as well. So we're just going to briefly talk to you today about business wills, discretionary trust wills and lasting powers of attorney. We both work within private client, which is a really effective estate planning tool to help lower your inheritance tax liability, especially if you are a business owner. Next slide, please. So one such tool is business relief. Now, your business interest could potentially be up to 100% exempt from inheritance tax. There are some conditions and exceptions to this, but it's a really useful tool to try and utilise. Business relief is available on business interests that are transferred during your lifetime, but also can be available on those transferred through your death. So it's extremely important the type of will you choose to put in place to help utilise that relief on your business interests. The assets which business relief is claimed on need to be a functioning part of your business and not merely just an asset owned by the business. For example, a villa in Greece, which is an asset of the business, needs to be actually trading to be used for business relief. So how can we use business relief? How can we maximise business relief? Next slide, please. Through discretionary trust wills usually would be a very good option. Now, leaving a business to your spouse is not always the most inheritance tax efficient option. Firstly, because it counts on the tax rules and the business circumstances being the same on the second death as they were on the first death. And primarily, it's not inheritance tax efficient because passing your business to your spouse, well, anything that passes to your spouse is already inheritance tax free, which means you could essentially waste that 100% business relief allowance that might be able to be put on your business interests. So a better approach would be to put your business assets under a discretionary trust will. This will enable decisions to be made on the circumstances that are in place at the time of your death, which are likely to be very different to those in place now, especially in relation to tax laws. And this also means that you can pass the assets to the most appropriate beneficiary at that time. Again, not having to make a decision now and letting it be made based on the circumstances at your death. There are some additional advantages to discretionary trust wills as well. It can potentially protect assets from beneficiaries going through divorce or delay assets going to someone who's going through bankruptcy. If a beneficiary is addicted to drink or drugs, then you can delay any payment going to them until they're stable, or help use the funds to help them. You can try and shelter half of the value of your jointly owned property from care home fees through a discretionary trust will. And the same also applies for children from a previous relationship. So you're ring fencing an inheritance for certain beneficiaries. And then finally, you may not wish for a disabled beneficiary to receive a gift outright, as this could upset their mean tested benefits. You may want to protect the money, use it for their benefit, but without actually giving it to them. Next slide, please. So finally, moving on to lasting powers of attorney. People often focus on getting their affairs in order for when they've died, but it is just as, if not more important, to get your affairs in order for whilst you're alive. Now, you could be unable to manage your affairs for several reasons. That could be from an illness, mental incapacity, being in hospital, but it could also be that you're abroad and something requires your attention immediately back home and you need someone to step in to assist you with that. Or the other option is that you could be abroad and have lost your passport and need someone to assist you back home on your return journey. So there are a lot of reasons why they can be really useful. Unfortunately, your spouse or loved ones are not able to manage your affairs, and that includes your business. So if you were unwell and your loved ones were then needing to help manage your affairs or with your business, they would be faced with a court of protection application, and this can take between 6 to 12 months and cost thousands of pounds for them. So if you own a business, it is extremely important to have lasting powers of attorney in place so that for business continuity, as your attorneys can then continue running your business if you do become incapacitated. If there's no lasting power of attorney in place and your loved ones are faced with a court of protection application before being able to continue the business may not survive that time frame. So you must make lasting powers of attorney whilst you still have your mental capacity, so it's something to do in advance. And there are two types available: property and financial affairs and health and welfare. Next slide, please. So finally, I know it's just a whistle-stop tour, but if any of you want to talk to us in any more detail about anything that you've heard today, we do offer a free initial half-an-hour consultation, so just get in touch, but we're happy to take any questions if there are any at this stage.